introduction to the Christian. Now, just about every YouTube video I watch from an atheist or supposed former Christians that don't seem to know very much about Christianity, you run into a lot of these little jabs, and if you were a Christian, why are you eating a ham sandwich, and why are you eating shellfish, and why have you got clothes of more than one fabric, and all these different things. And the basic argument of the atheist then is, well, the Bible's archaic and Christians are hypocrites because they're not keeping all these laws. Well, again, and really these comments are really shocking coming from former Christians, because you would think that they would know better. Because see, if you're going to attack something I believe, if you don't accurately represent it, now if you unintentionally do it, that's one thing. There's always, you know, grace for that or whatever. There's patience. But when you purposely, when a former Christian, someone that believed what I believed and knew what I knew and preached what I preach and did all of these things, and then they can't even properly represent the most 101 basic doctrines of Christianity, boy, you really have to wonder. So they're either willingly lying, knowingly lying, just to prove a point, because straw men are easy to beat up, or they were just really exposed to some bad teaching. I don't know. When it comes to former Christians, you know, I'm not hating on you guys too bad, but I'm still yet to run into one that will accurately represent what the Bible very plainly teaches. And again, when you say you believe what Christians believe, you kind of put yourself out there, so don't backpedal now and say that I'm picking on you or something. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So my point is, what of this? Can a Christian eat a ham sandwich? Of course he can. This is something basic that, unfortunately, even a lot of churches nowadays, they just don't teach very good about the Bible. They don't teach their people the most simple things. In the law of Moses, there are three, count them, 1, 2, 3 parts. Every law falls into one of these three categories. Number 1, there's the ceremonial law. Number 2, the judicial law. Number 3, the moral law. Now, there's 3 parts. Every law in the Torah, the law of Moses, the Jewish law, every law falls under one of those. Ceremonial, judicial, or moral. Now, which ones carry over into the New Testament? Well, read Acts chapter 10. Read Acts chapter 15. Read Romans chapter 1 and 2. And there's actually others, but those are the main ones I can think of right now. We as Christians are obliged to keep the moral law. We are not under the judicial, ceremonial laws of the Jews. That's what these passages teach. Acts chapter 15 is explicit about that. Acts chapter 10 is very explicit about that. And in Romans chapter 1, when he talks about the Gentiles who hold the knowledge of God in unrighteousness, and when they suppress the truth, and it goes on in verses 28 through 32 to have a list of sins. All those are breaking of the moral law. It didn't say that the Gentiles were held under not eating ham and all that different type of stuff. And then in Romans chapter 2, verse 14 and 15, it says, but the Gentiles show the work of the law in their heart. Okay, while their thoughts testifying against them, or, you know, else excusing them or accusing them, etc., etc. So what are we seeing here? There is a consistent running theme that Christ fulfilled the law on our behalf. He explicitly said so. And that in the New Testament, the Jewish ceremonial regulations, the temple process, all of that stuff, the not eating of pigs, the wearing of certain clothes, the bathing before certain sacrifices, all of these different things did not carry over for believers in Jesus Christ, even for the Jews at that time. Okay? So go read Acts chapter 10, Acts chapter 15. Read Romans chapter 1 and 2 with a little bit of understanding. Let the words speak for themselves. You will see that we are obliged to keep the moral law. That's the only things that were brought up then. In fact, and, you know, again, in Acts chapter 15, it was the Judaizers, these people that were saying, look, wait, these Christians do need to keep the law. And then they decided, no, they don't. Quit saying that. Quit trying to yoke them down under the same bondage, the burdens that we couldn't keep. Okay? It's very plain in Scripture. So let me explain it to you again, since you were supposedly a Christian and never knew this. There's the judicial, the ceremonial, and the moral law. Christians are obliged to keep the moral law. So next time, atheists, now that you know, you can either willingly now continue to present the straw man and bludgeon him and thus be dishonest and lying, or you can actually properly represent what we believe and we'll actually listen to what you have to say, because it's very insulting. Just think about if I misrepresent what you believe, okay? And then be arrogant about it. Many of the atheists are very arrogant in their presentation of how silly the Bible is and different things, and they get all belligerent on the video like they're going to do something, and it's really sad. So please stop willingly misrepresenting the Bible. Thanks.